Hi, I'm Sonya White Jaguar. Welcome to my channel. I'm a longtime Reiki master. For 5 years, I taught Reiki to more than 100 students, and I'm also a shamanic practitioner. For more than a decade now, I've studied with a Mayan shaman in Mexico, and I've recently started a new career as an author, thanks to this gentleman on my wall, Alan Rickman. He was an acclaimed British actor who died sadly of cancer in 2016. Now, I'm not a movie buff, so unfortunately I missed his career. He's best known for his roles in Harry Potter, Die Hard, and Robin Hood. But I experienced some unusual spiritual experiences around the time of his death, some synchronicities that prompted me to make contact with him after he died. Now, that's something that I do on occasion as a spiritual healer. However, I had never done that with someone like Alan. But I listened to the guidance I received and I spoke with him, and I'm very glad that I did. I gave him Reiki, and then a few months later he asked me to teach him Reiki, which I had never heard of doing that with someone on the other side before, but I went ahead and did that on faith, and it turned out that it helped him tremendously. When he used the Reiki on himself, it inadvertently crossed him over, and I did not know that he had not crossed over immediately after his death. So he came back and explained to me what happened. He explained how the Reiki had helped him, and then he started answering my questions that I was asking him at that point about the afterlife and the soul. And so he began working with me as a spirit guide at that point, and he's been working with me ever since. And so I started to journal my experiences, and over time I accumulated probably more than 200 pages, single-spaced, in the computer. And I was overwhelmed with all the material that I had, and I didn't know what to do with it. And then along came 2020 and that little event called the coronavirus pandemic, which put things into perspective for me. And I know that it did that for a lot of people. And in fact, in the spiritual community, I know a lot of people like myself who were doing their work quietly, privately, and then during the pandemic, they got the guidance to come forward, step out of the shadow, and start to share their work publicly. So in working with Alan, he also gave me the same guidance and said, it's time to share your work. So in May of 22, I published my first book, From Actor to Healer, Alan Rickman's New Life as a Spirit Guide. He said to me, go ahead and put your work out online for free. All of my books are on Wattpad, which is a free social media site. Works just like other social media sites. You can read the books directly by just clicking the links. You do not need a Wattpad account. And he also said to me to go ahead and start a YouTube channel and share my spiritual knowledge in videos to give people the chance to get to know me, to hear me and see me. So that's what I did. So I have since published the second book in that series. The first book explains how I met Alan, how he started working with me as a spirit guide, and explaining too that he wants to help people. He wants to work with other people. He's become a tremendous teacher and healer, and he doesn't just work with myself. He works with other people as well. So some of those stories are documented in that book. And then the second book goes even deeper. He has channeled even more information to me, and we've answered some really common questions that people ask about reincarnation and soulmates. He's talked about what it's like to be a guide, and we talked about the pandemic, and we also share a spiritual perspective on cancer. We go a little deeper on that subject than we did in the first book. And so at the same time that I launched the first book, I started this YouTube channel. I started a series called White Jaguar Wednesdays, where I publish a video twice a month and I answer your spiritual questions. So if you're new to my channel, or if you've missed some of my videos, be sure to click either videos or playlists and check out those videos. I've got a lot of videos where I've channeled messages from Alan. I have meditation videos, and I also have a lot of instructional videos on how to work with spirit guides and how to develop your intuition and so forth. So a few months after I launched, the diaries of Alan Rickman were published. And so because I was sharing my work online already by that time, someone submitted a question and said, since you're working with Alan, what does he think about his diaries being published? So I spoke with him and I channeled a message from him. And so I posted my own short book review with his channeled comments. And at the same time, I sat down with him and we did some more channeling. And I produced Alan Rickman on Love, a channeled commentary. And he talked about his love of life, romantic love, and love in the higher dimension. And someone wrote to me after reading that book and said that they felt Alan's energy while they were reading it, and it was so strong it actually brought tears to their eyes. So I do have more channeled commentaries like that coming. And I have to say, when I first started to learn about Alan's work and watched his movies, watched interviews online that he had given, and saw photos from his career and so forth, I got the feeling that he could have been a poet in this lifetime. And then when I read the diaries, I felt that even more strongly. And over time, Alan has done a lot of channeling with me, and he has given me poems. So I recently posted this book, A Book of Poetry by Alan Rickman on the other side. And I'm adding more poems to that book that he gives me. So if you haven't seen that book yet, be sure to check that out, because I will continue to add more poems over time. So in February of 23, I felt inspired to write a short love story in honor of Alan for his birthday that month. He would have been 77. And this was inspired by a play that Alan had done in the early 90s called Tango at the End of Winter. And I have to say that over time, getting to know Alan and circulating more online, I'm truly touched and blown away by the fan base that Alan has. When I first started working with him in 2016, I did not know how popular he was. And I truly admire those of you who are always sharing pictures and videos of Alan and keeping his memory alive and writing fan fiction. And please know that where Alan is in the higher dimension, he sees what's happening here. He also has tremendous admiration for your love. He feels your love, and he appreciates what you're doing to keep his memory alive too. So I'm very much inspired by that, and so I will continue to write more love stories like the Romance Lounge that I wrote in February of 23. So all 6 of these books are available. You can click the links below and read these. The other 4 on the right-hand side are works in progress, and Alan is helping me to write all of my books. The one at the top will be the next one that I post, Writing Alan Rickman's Autobiography, a fan fiction romance. And that is inspired by Alan's diaries. And there's actually a lot of channeled material from Alan in that book as well. So I'm very excited to post that book next. And I'm working on some other books as well. I have 3 romances in the works called The Rise of Atlantis, the Kachina Doll Theater, and another one called Sacred Love, Sacred Sex. And then I'm also working on a spiritual nonfiction series. The first book is called Spirit Guides Are Shamans, which is techniques for working with spirit guides. The second book is Use Crystals Like a Shaman, and like the name implies, that's a healing guide for working with crystals. And then the third book in the series is a compilation of spiritual healing techniques that I've developed and used over the years as a spiritual healer. So I've got lots in the works. If you're interested in my work, and if you're interested in working with Alan as a spirit guide or developing your skills to work with people on the other side, please feel free to follow me. Follow me here on YouTube, Subscribe to my newsletter. I send out a newsletter twice a month. I include inspirational messages from Alan, and I also share excerpts from my works in progress too. My newsletter group is the only place where I share excerpts of my books before they're published. So if you'd like the inside scoop on what I'm working on, definitely subscribe. So all the links are below, so please check out my work. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to connecting with you soon.